This is a new lake. I've never fished this lake before, but it's real shallow. It's some places it's 3 or 4 meters deep, but most of it is about waist high. The water's fairly clear, and here in the month of May, when the fish are just done spawning, hopefully they're going to be all fired up, ready to bite, and that combined with the shallow water gives me an idea that this might be ideal conditions for trying to catch them on the popper. And the popper is by far not the easiest and most effective way of catching pike, but probably the most fun. And if this works out well, I think we won't be in doubt as why. So up here in this depth, the fish can be, and I'm just going to try cover this with the popper and see if we can get some of them to come up and strike it. Oh, that was cool. That's what we're here for. And that kick it gives, that moment when it just comes out of nowhere. He's a feisty one. Maybe this is just my theory, but having a fish fight around and splashing and making a mess here can sometimes wake up other fish in the area, and I would not be surprised if he attracts some more fish for the next one. Here we go. Fly I caught the pike on is real simple, function over looks. It's your classic flash fly with a white popping head, and really that's all you need. It gives the profile, it gives the noise, gives the floating of a popper, and then that big body that just kind of lights up in the water. It's hard to figure out what the right retrieve is. I like to start with a couple big loud pops to attract the fish. Let it sit a little bit, and then also just these kind of small pops where it kind of gurgles in the water. When you're about halfway in, you give it a couple big ones again. And although it's a little bit boring, can be effective to let it just kind of sit there for a while. Seems like those pike, they need to think about it sometimes before they strike. I'm going to try this diver instead of the popper. Basically it's the same thing, just a foam head on a flash fly, but instead of a popping head, this is a diving head. So on the retrieve it swims down just beneath the surface. So you still have that visual topwater strike, but the advantage is that when it dives down, the pike see it from the side and not just from below, and they seem to be more keen on striking these. So if they're a little bit careful with the poppers, then the divers can do the trick sometimes. And that's the thing, then it doesn't really matter how big the fish is. When you get that moment. Now I'm going to try a big popper. This one has a real cupped surface, so it really makes some noise, and hopefully it can wake them up here now that there's a little bit of wind on the surface. We have made some unique underwater recording that show the popper strike above and below the surface at the same time. We've been using a dual camera setup in front of the popper and can show the behavior of the pike when they strike. The popper is hookless, so it does not have the same action in the water compared to fishing with a real popper. But we got some pretty cool shots that show how the pike strikes at the surface. First, we're going to see some classic pike strikes. Here, the pike hits hard and violently. Oh, he went for it again. There we go. Oh, that was classic. That was classic. Now do you understand why I love popper fishing? But it's not always the pike strikes hard and fast. Here's some examples of pike following the fly and looking very carefully before finally attacking. In some cases, a stinger hook can really make the difference. Oh, I think there's one on it now. Looked like a little bit of nervous water, but maybe I'm just beginning to see things. Now we got him. Oh, he wanted that popper. Unbelievable. That's May for you, all right. That was fun.
Sometimes they almost hit the popper, or they regret and they turn at the last moment. On the surface, it looks like a brutal strike, but the pike actually took it gently before disappearing in a big splash.
One on it. Eat it. Eat again, eat again. Completely missed it. There we go. Oh, love this. This is a little bay here. It's got some deeper water out in the middle. And this is the type of spot that could hold a bigger fish. So I want to see what I can get to take the popper here. Unfortunately, nothing came up and hit the popper. But before I want to move on, I want to make sure that I've fished this through thoroughly. Because again, I got a feeling this could be a spot that could hold a good fish or two. We're still in May and got these aggressive fish, so I'm going to put on a fly that's kind of loud. It's an ugly one, but it certainly is effective. It's a propeller fly that has this propeller that spins around and makes this sound underwater. And inspired by spin fishing with spinners, which is great in May, I've tied up some flies where I put these on the front, and then some bucktail and some flash, a little bit of sonker. You can see this one's kind of chewed on, and yeah, we'll see if this does the trick. And even though I got the floating line here, I can let it sink down a little bit and just jig it real slowly. And then it's got the weighted front, so it sinks front first, and then the propeller spins even when it's jigging as it goes down towards the bottom. So no matter whether I'm pulling it in where it's rising or whether it's sinking towards the bottom, that propeller is spinning all the time. Yep. It's fighting slow and deep. And usually, that's certainly a good sign. If I hadn't gotten a look of him, I would have been sure this was a monster the way he's pulling out there. He wouldn't give me the satisfaction of a popper strike, but he's definitely putting up a good fight. He just won't. Okay. The strategy worked, and there's a deep hole. Would have loved to have had that fish come up on the popper, but definitely pays off to still fish it with something that sinks down a little bit. And this little propeller fly, well, evidently did the trick. How awesome was that? How awesome was that? This isn't about the weight or the statistics. It's about that one moment when they strike. And this was a gorgeous moment. Oh, gorgeous fish. Gorgeous fish, and he's off. Beautiful. Oh, that was awesome. That's what it's all about. Beautiful spring evening, a big pike, surface popper, having it right in front of your feet, so visual, seeing it before it strikes, adrenaline going, and the fact that I didn't catch that fish, that I didn't get to hold it up, doesn't matter. I got everything I wanted out of that fish.